Have you ever just stopped and wondered, what's the actual recipe that makes me, well, me? Today we're going to open the ultimate cookbook of human existence to break down the fundamental ingredients, the core instructions that all come together to create a person.
So let's just jump right in. What is the recipe for a human being? I mean, is it just a simple list of ingredients, or is it also about how they're all mixed together, and maybe even the kitchen they're cooked in?
Well, to get those answers, we've got to turn to the science that tells our life story. It's called human development. And yeah, it's the field that looks at literally every single change we go through, from the very beginning at conception all the way to the end.
Okay, so every good recipe starts with the ingredients, right? For us, that's our genetic blueprint. Think of it as the core instructions, the absolute foundation of who we are.
And it all kicks off with genetics. You know, the slide calls it the science of inherited traits, which is true. But a better way to think about it is it's the science of why you have your mom's eyes, or maybe your grandpa's goofy laugh. It's all about what gets passed down through the family. So if we think of genetics as this giant library all about you, then the chromosomes, those are the books on the shelves. They're these super tightly wound packages that hold all your genetic info, all tucked away inside pretty much every cell in your body. And what language are all those books written in? Well, that's DNA. Yep, that famous double helix. It's the molecule that holds the actual code, the real, nitty-gritty instructions for building and running, well, you.
And finally, what about the individual words in that language? Those are the genes. Each gene is just a specific section of DNA that codes for a certain trait. It's the most basic instruction, the smallest ingredient in your personal recipe.
And it's an amazing reminder of how detailed that instruction manual really is. DNA isn't just about eye color or hair color. Nope, it influences this incredible wide range of stuff. Everything from your physical features to even, potential tendencies for certain behaviors.
Okay, here's a number for you. 46. That's it. That's the magic number. It's the total number of chromosomes, your complete set of genetic books found in almost every single cell of your body.
So how does that work exactly? Well, those 46 chromosomes line up in 23 pairs, and it's a perfect 50-50 split. You get 23 from your mom's egg and 23 from your dad's sperm. Now, the first 22 pairs, they're called autosomes. They take care of most of your characteristics. And that last pair, number 23, those are the sex chromosomes. They're the ones that determine biological sex. XX for female, XY for male.
But wait, it gets even cooler. See, not all genes play by the same rules. Some are dominant. They're the boss. They call the shots. And then you've got recessive genes, and they kind of have to wait for the perfect moment to show up. Eye color is the perfect example, right? The gene for brown eyes is dominant, and the one for blue is recessive. So, picture this. You've got two brown-eyed parents, but they both secretly carry that recessive gene for blue eyes. If that happens, there's actually a 1 in 4 shot that their kid will get both of those recessive genes, and poof, a blue-eyed child. It's exactly how these hidden traits can pop up, seemingly out of nowhere.
Okay, so we've got our genetic recipe, but any good cook knows the recipe's only half the battle, right? The kitchen you cook it in, that matters a ton. And this brings us to one of the biggest, most famous debates in all of science, nature versus nurture.
So let's just make sure we're all on the same page. Nature, that's the recipe. It's all the genetic stuff we just talked about. And nurture, that's the kitchen. It's the environment, your family, your friends, your culture, the whole shebang. So yeah, it's the recipe versus the kitchen. And here's the big reveal from modern science. It's not a battle at all. It's a partnership, a total team effort. Your genes and your environment are constantly talking to each other, like a dance that shapes who you are. There's this super fascinating field called epigenetics that studies how our experiences can literally turn genes on or off, like light switches. So you see, you just can't separate the recipe from the kitchen. In fact, there's a whole field of science dedicated to figuring this puzzle out. It's called behavioral genetics. And their entire goal is to try and understand how much of our behavior, our personality, our intelligence, how much of that is from our genes, and how much is from, well, just living life.
So you might be thinking, okay, if it's that complicated, how on earth do scientists even study it? I mean, how do you read the recipe while the cake is still baking? Well, it turns out they've got some pretty clever ways to do it.
There are basically 3 main approaches. The first is a cross-sectional study. Think of it like taking one snapshot at a family reunion. You see a bunch of different people at different ages, all at the same time. Then there's the longitudinal study. This is more like watching a home video of just one person, following them as they grow up over years and years. And the cross-sequential one? It's a smart mix of both. Each method gives us a totally different but super valuable window into how we all change over time.
So, what's the big takeaway here? It's this. Your genetic recipe, your blueprint, it's written at the moment of conception. That is your starting point, for sure. But it is not the end of the story. Not even close. Your environment, the choices you make, the things you experience, all of that determines how that recipe actually plays out.
And that really leaves us with one last big question. Knowing that your life is this incredible, dynamic dance between your one-of-a-kind genetic code and everything happening around you, what's your story going to be?